Oh no, this ID got me set up right now. You know, my producer got me set up. I'm locked up. They won't let me out. That's how my producer do me. We'll get it together. What's up, Coco? All right, start from the top. We start from the top. All right, consider navigating. Go to playlist. That's easy. Um, for your current level, I'm not sure which level yet. I have to go look at it. Tech savvy. Good afternoon. Things going all right. Derek Bennett, what up? Greetings and salutations. Um, Seven C's, what up? I thought it was the Department of Combat. Keanu, Coco, welcome to the live. Andre Hendricks, what's going on? That's right, lock in. Oh, so it's hold on. Formerly known as Space Force, the Department of Combat, will be in Huntsville as well too. Which is, one of them things that we are going to talk about a little bit, just a little bit. I'm going through. I got to get my links up. Um, but on the side, you know, I ain't the one to gossip, so you didn't hear it from me, and don't nobody talk bad about Miss Jenkins. But have y'all been keeping up with like all the craziness going on just across social media? Just stupid stuff. Just stupid stuff. Like, what's his name? Young Thug calling Glorilla ugly. You know. Then you got PJ Morton. Is it PJ Morton? Not PJ Morton. That's the singer. PJ or TJ, whatever it is. And the dude, and what's her name? Brittany. Yep. Then you got the shootings. Then you got folks folks being deployed to the cities. You got ICE. You got um. I just pulled this up. Angie Stone family is filing a wrongful death lawsuit. You got, like I call it, pastors and preachers doing stuff. You got the dude with the what was the pastor for 50 million. He hit um stealing in some kind of ring or something like that. You got then you got I don't know if you guys watch anything in regards to um like the natural disasters, uh how that data is flowing for warnings and stuff. I don't know if you've been keeping up with that, like, you know, who's taking over satellites and just all kind of craziness. At this point, you just do better not going outside. I'm just saying, you just do better by just like, make your money, sit in the house, get stuff delivered to you, and keep it pushing. I know you can't live your life like that, but I'm just saying that's what it seemed like, right? It's just craziness. Let me see. We're gonna go over some stuff today. Some things I read and I just be like, really, you setting people up for failure. You setting them up for no empty candles is not. It's not new. It's just what it is. All right. So I didn't know because that lets you know how I'll be paying attention. You know what? Because I don't see the billboards anymore. Usually on my drives, I'll see the billboard. The Powerball hits nearly 2 billion. 2 billion for the Powerball. Now that's the September the 5th. I don't know if somebody won last night. When is the Powerball due to be? When's the Powerball drawing? Uh, let me see. I added my stuff. Hold on. Let me share my screen. Oh, see, yeah, I'll share my screen. I don't know why you don't see it, D. Because I shared my screen. You have to add it to the show. There you go. So, Powerball nearly hits 2 billion, and then they broke it down. And the reason why I like this is because they broke it down into what it would look like in every state, right? So let's go to it. I like numbers. So if you was to take the lump sum in Arizona, that'll be 500 million. Look how it went. Look how they got cut down. But if you took the annuity, right? So places like Arkansas, Arizona, Cali, Cali give you a little something. But look how they get sliced in half. Colorado, Connecticut, Florida. It looked like Florida winning in what was that 1 point something in California so far. Georgia. I wonder what it is in Montana. Mississippi, Missouri, Montana. So far, all right, New Hampshire. Look at New Jersey as an annuity. The question is, what would y'all do with that money? You say, now this is the thing, everybody say they're not going to tell nobody. South Dakota looks like a good place. Tennessee looks like another good place. Texas looks like good places. Washington, D.C. must definitely not. And Wyoming, right? So, yeah, go get your tickets, man. You know what? I don't think you spending $10 ain't gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt you. Spend your $10, go get you a ticket, and go from there. It's not gonna hurt you. The question is, what you gonna do with the money? Everybody says, if I win, I'm not telling anybody that I won. The next question is, you say you're not telling nobody, right? But the next question is where are you gonna keep that kind of money at? Are you gonna keep that money in a bank in the States? Are you gonna do some overseas accounts? How you gonna protect that money in the long run, right? How you gonna, it's supposed to be generational wealth here, right? But let's look at oh no, I'm looking up something. Okay. Yeah. So this is what they're saying. So let's get it up here. They're saying generational wealth studies show a significant portion of wealthy families lose their fortunes by the second generation, with even fewer surviving to the third generation. Right? So they don't even make it past the third generation. Now, how could you get that money? Say you win, and how can you make that money? Ensure that that money lasts to the third generation, and then some. Right? Right. So everybody's like, well, what's the generation? Let's define it. All right. Generation is a group of people who are born and alive around the same time, share similar life experience, cultural influences, and so forth. I thought it was 10 years. Let me see. How many years is defined as a gen? 20 to 30. 20 to 30 years. All right. So it says societal generation is generally considered to be between 20 and 30 years, though the exact length can vary on cultural and social factors, and there's no universally agreed upon standard. The concept of a generation also can refer to a familial line of descent or a social cohort by shared historical events, which can influence its perceived length. So they go between familial. This refers to a direct descendant, such as a grandparent, parent, and child. So for us in a generation, so say you win as we'll say you're the parent. So by the time your child has grandchildren, typically the child of that parent has spent the money, and the grandchild doesn't get anything. Typically, that's what they're saying. So basically, your grandmother had wealth, left, or your grandparents had wealth, left wealth to your mom or your dad, and then by the time it get to you, ain't nothing left, right? So how can you ensure that that money stays around? Now I've talked about this before. I'm just gonna throw out some ideas. Um, we're just gonna throw out ideas here. I'm not telling you to do this, but it could help. Right? We talked about this before. The Spendthrift Trust, right? Where you can create a trust and do estate planning, right? Basically, um, the reason why it's called spendthrift is because a spendthrift is a person who is a wasteful or reckless spender. A spendthrift trust is a trust that lets the beneficiary receive certain assets only if they meet specific conditions. Spendthrift trusts help ensure that beneficiaries can't squander their inheritance. They can also protect assets from creditors. Rather than allowing the beneficiary to receive a lump sum, the trustee releases the money incrementally, right? So you can say, okay, I'm gonna give you 50,000 each year for the first 5 years or first 10 years, and then I ramp up over time, right? You can do over time, or you can do, we'll start off with 50,000, and then every year you increase by 5,000 or 10,000 or something like that. Again, the logic here is that you won these billions, or some hundred millions and up, and so you can do something like this. But you don't have to do this for just with on an account like that. You can do this with other things. You can have $100,000 in $100,000 in as one of your life insurance policies, and you don't want that one person to squander it all away by giving them a lump sum. You can set it up where it goes and says, okay, we're gonna give you this money, but I am going to um set it up where you get, out of this 100,000, I'm only gonna give you 10,000 a year, right? And you can make it stretch, something like that, right? So it says the Spendthrift Trust helps ensure that the beneficiary can't squander their inheritance. They also protect assets from creditors. Rather than allowing the beneficiary to receive a lump sum, the trustee releases the money incrementally. The grantor, the person whose assets are funding the trust, sets conditions under which the beneficiary can access the trust assets. Spendthrift trust can be especially useful if the beneficiary is not mature enough to make decisions, impulsive with money, in heavy debt, or at risk of going into heavy debt, easily fooled or defrauded, suffering an active addiction that may cause excessive spending, a child with functional needs, and eligible for SSI, involved in at risk or getting a divorce. Courts may not consider trust assets as marital property when dividing assets. That's why I always hear when everybody be online talking about, oh, I'm not getting married because if I get married, she gonna take half. Well, just put your stuff in a trust and you won't have to worry about it. See, the difference is that people get married, and when most of the time when people get married, especially if you're in your early 20s and you guys don't have much, you guys tend to not have anything, and you gain assets over time, right? You guys put in work together to gain assets over time. And then when it's time to get divorced, it's really like you all are splitting it in half or 70-30 or whatever the case may be, right? That's usually how it works. Most people get married early. But if they do get married later in life, protect your assets. There's nothing wrong with you protecting your assets. Just be smart about it, right? And it also says employed in an industry where lawsuits are common, creditors typically can't seize trust assets to pay settlements. See? All right. And it says, how does the Spendthrift Trust work? It says a grantor, also known as a settler. The grantor is the person who creates the trust and transfer the assets into it. A beneficiary is the person who receives the benefits from the trust. The trustee is the person who manages the spendthrift trust assets in accordance with the terms of the trust. You may be able to appoint yourself as trustee, but if you do so, you'll need to appoint a successor trustee because in case someone dies or something of that nature, right? Who can also take over after you die or become incapacitated, right? Advantages of the spendthrift, dependability, ability, oversight, tax advantages, asset preservation. A spendthrift trust may protect the beneficiary's trust assets from most creditors and lawsuits, privacy, and then there are disadvantages, complexity. Spendthrift trust can be costly to set up and maintain. Permanence is if your spendthrift trust is irrevocable, you likely won't be able to modify it. Even if circumstances change. So be careful here. Even when you set up your regular trust, make sure you understand the difference between revocable and irrevocable. Because some things, once you set it in stone, you can't change, right? And you can go online and set up your own spendthrift trust. You can do this yourself if you want to. You can set up, you can talk to a lawyer. You can go through things like download uh, uh, a worksheet, and in that worksheet, you can go over and say, okay, what it is that I want to put in a trust. Let me look here. No, that's not it. Mm, I'm looking for an example worksheet because I had one. Mm, Let me look it up online. I had one because I just filled out one. Uh, Let me look. Let me look. Mm, I guess I lost it. I don't think it's on my thing. I don't think it's on my drive. No, it's not. I have to find one. I'll find one and post it. Basically, on a worksheet, especially when you're setting up a trust, you go through and you set up and you write down all your assets. And this is why I tell you guys to sit down and write and go through and look at how much money you made from Social Security. I'm sure most of you haven't done that yet, but go to the Social Security website. Look at how much money you have made up until this point, and look how long it's taking you to make that money. You can calculate how much money in total, like you just add up how much money you've made in total. You'll see if you've been working since you were 15, you probably hit the $1 million mark a long time ago. You've made $1 million. You just don't have $1 million to show in a lump sum. You don't have $1 million sitting in the bank, and some of you might. Um, but again, you probably made $1 million or more in your lifetime, right? Now, the next question is, how long did it take you to make that $1 million or more? And can you utilize your skills to make that $1 million again quicker? That's the goal, right? The goal is to save as much, but also the goal is not to work as hard to get to that $1 million point. Like when you was working at, I don't know, when you were working at KFC or when you were working at Taco Bell when you were 15, you know, money was different. Like how you got paid, your taxes and so forth and so on, right? And how much you got paid for an hour was different. And then as you grew out of working at in the fast food industry, excuse me, and some people, let's be clear, have never grown out of working in the fast food industry. That is their bread and butter. I remember quite well working at Wendy's, and one of the ladies, she was a cashier, and she was like, I was like, how long have you been here as a cashier? She's like, I've been working here for 12 years. I've been working here for 15 years. And it's some people, that's all they're gonna do. They're gonna come to work, they're gonna work on the register. They they know that they're dependable. That's all they're gonna do, and that's all the skill set they're gonna have. That's all. That's it. Don't ask them to do nothing else. Don't ask them to like manage a team. Don't ask them to do, but they're not doing it. They set in their ways, and that's what they're gonna do. And then I met people who have started as the cashier and started and then owned the store, right? So it really depends. But you just got to understand that some people, it just in their lifetime, that's all they're gonna do, and there's nothing wrong with that. They happy with it. They happy with their life afterwards, so forth or so on. Cool, run with it. I just know, I just knew, and it's so funny. When I used to go to work at General Motors, and I would look at everybody around there, and I would look, and I was like, man, I was like, they've been working here 15, 20, 25 years. And I was like, this got to be the most boring ass job ever. Don't get me wrong. You get in there, you do your repetitive job over and over again. I was like, but this got to be the most boring ass job ever. I'm like, I just want to use my mind. I don't want to use my hands no more. I want to use my mind. And so when you go into different places, you start looking at stuff like, am I doing am I putting forth my best effort? And am I using everything that I can? Like, am I using my mind? Am I being creative? Am I doing what I want to do? Right. And I'm not talking about uh like everybody say, do a job that you're gonna be happy with. Do a job that's just gonna interest you. Not I. You can be happy at the job, but the shit don't interest you. Like literally, I've been happy at a job, but what I was doing didn't interest me. It wasn't the fact that I wasn't interested in the people and other. It's just like to take it to the next level didn't interest me. But I was, I guess you could say, complacent, if you want to say it that way. I'm like, I could take it or leave it, right? And then I find jobs that I'm like, I'm really, really excited about. And I really don't mind putting in the effort because I'm excited about the work. But to stay there in that position, I may not be excited about the company, right? So it really depends. I mean, put a one in the chat if you follow what I'm saying. Put a one in the chat. I'm gonna get back to Spendthrift now. I'm done. So on the Spendthrift, and, and let me say this before we get off of Spendthrift. The main differences between the Spendthrift trust and the regular trust are in the trust wording, the timing of the funds, and protections from creditors, right? So just make sure you understand that when you guys go to set up your trust. I hope you all are setting up trust, especially if you own multiple assets. If you guys are out there, you own multiple houses, you're leaving stuff behind for grandchildren, nieces, nephews, brothers, cousins, uncles, nieces, daddies, whatever the case may be. I hope you're protecting your assets. All right, let me close this up. And that's the Powerball. And then let me make sure I want to go into this topic here. Oh, yeah, let's go into this. Kind of aligns with some of the things I want to say. All right, so let's talk about it. The 21-year-old actress. I started working consistently at 9. It taught me the wrong lesson about how to be successful. Right? So who are we talking about? Your girl, Marcy. Marcy Martin. So everybody knows her from Blackish and probably other movies like was it the Little Woman or the Little or something like that she did with um what's her name from gosh, what's the girl name? She had the TV show. The awkward black girl, the awkward what's her name again? Forget her name. Anyway, I like what she was saying in when I was reading this article. She's like, unlike most Americans, Marcia started working a steady job at the age of 9. Martin, now 21, co-starred on an ABC show called Blackish, and from ages 9 to 18. The experience of joining a workforce so young warped her perception of what success looked and feel like. She said only recently she happiness as part of the equation. She adds, Issa Rae, thank you. I thought that success was one of those things. Oh, that's great. I thought success was one of those things where you're always running and you get no sleep, and that success you're because you're working all the time. Martin says, who partnered with a fintech company, Mama I Made It YouTube series on August the 27th for financial awareness. You're busy and you can't eat because you're always moving around. She spent her teenage years trying to emulate the behavior of the ultra busy adults around her. She said she made sure her planner was always full, blocking out time for practicing her lines, staying up to date on the entertainment business, news, and journaling everything that came to mind. Anything to make sure she was staying busy as a spokesperson. Martin even added activities like brushing her teeth or taking her daily vitamins to her calendar so she could feel like she had a schedule. She had a schedule to manage, the spokesperson said. But Martin didn't feel successful. And we'll talk about this in a minute. Rather, she felt drained and adding that she was constantly questioning, is this my life? Is this what I have to do? There's a difference between occupying your time with projects you love or work that challenges you, and then overpacking your schedule to the point of burnout. I want to highlight that part right there, right? So let's read this again and then we'll talk about it. There's a difference between occupying your time with projects you love or work that challenges you, and then overpacking your schedule to the point of burnout. I want to highlight this little part, work that challenges you, right? Because uh, we know and we hear about it, right? AI is coming, people are getting laid off, people have to go back and figure out what they're going to do skill wise, how to get back in the market, make adjustments, and so forth and so on. But now the question becomes is is that work going to challenge you? Is that something that you want to do? Because everybody, listen, everybody need a paycheck. Now, hold on. Let me say this. I did not look at the clip, but I heard about the clip that Tabitha Brown told everybody to go get a job. Again, some people, and I told you this before, some people are meant to work jobs, and some people are meant to be entrepreneurs. And then some people do both. They may be an entrepreneur if they decide, you know what, I don't want to do that no more. I want to go back and be a worker bee. Let me just work, right? And so there's a difference between, yeah, she ain't say nothing wrong. It's just I said this before, and like, you know, I get slack here and there. There's nothing wrong with you being a W-2 millionaire. And there's nothing wrong with you getting up and going to work and working 9 to 5. I'm just saying, if you're going to do it in relation to what I've been talking about in terms of infrastructure, in terms of Linux, in terms of that world, 10 to 15 years, how about go be an entrepreneur, go be a consultant, or stay, right? I'm just saying, set yourself up so that way in them 10 to 15 years, if you want to retire and go do something else. If you want to stay and continue to work, cool. Guess what? You got a nest egg. Now you make decisions based on whether you like to do the work or you don't want to do the work. You're like, you know what? I don't need to be in the politic game. I just want to do my job and go home. I want to be in the politic game. Cool. I'll get in it. I'm only gonna be in it for 2 or 3 years, and then I hop out and go do something else. Again, it really depends on how you see yourself and what you want to do. Okay. All right. So it says plenty of successful people have learned this the hard way, from Bill Gates to Beyonce. As Martin grew out of the teenage years, her definition of success expanded to including finding happiness, learning new skills, and nurturing her financial and mental health. And this is what I talk about here on the show. I can show you all the jobs paying 200, 300, 400, 500,000, a million, 10 million. But if you're not taking any time to, one, level up your skill sets and understanding the financial benefits that that job brings and your financial literacy, listen, I could tell you when I started, nobody talked about it the way I'm talking about it now. And they really don't even talk about it the way I'm talking about it now. However, people are now starting to talk more about, fire movement, is fire dead, uh, co-ops, uh, flipping houses, whatever, real estate, buying businesses, all those things. But nobody talks about that W-2 millionaire, and I'm not talking about just in your 401k. And that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being able to have your 401k also and be liquid, so you can move how you want to. Because you can have a million in your 401k, but you could just say probably about 30 to 40% of that is got to come out for taxes. So, you cut that in half. But the other part is nurturing your financial health and your mental health. Now, with that being said, is you also have to understand how the market works. Um, you also have to understand how real estate works. These are all these different nuances, like buying watches when we're talking about assets, buying a business, um, creating a business. Those things you just need to understand them, and not everybody's cut out to do those things, and it's okay. It's okay. It's not wrong with that. It's not wrong with you getting up every day and going to work a 9 to 5. I've seen people struggle at entrepreneurship. I've seen people struggle at just getting up going to a job. Like, I've seen it, right? All right. It says that generally a healthy evolution, some experts say you should always balance your career ambitions with your health and happiness. Peloton vice president of fitness, and I don't know, it didn't Peloton, didn't they file for bankruptcy, or at some point they're not even on the blip no more. Hustle requires the confidence to define what the latter looks like, what the definition of success looks like. And my definition of success includes my own self-care practices. Long I I've long understood my own energy, very much how somebody might think about their finances. Now I won't read this whole entire article, but I just want to put out here kind of like on the same lines of understanding, like, yes, you can get into tech, and yes, you can make millions. We've seen it. Like, we know that getting into tech, you can make millions. We can all agree to that, right? Put a one in the chat. We can all agree that you can get into tech and you can make millions. I think I've shown that. I think we've seen it. We saw the folks in with the overemployment. We've seen people with the one job and getting 100 million. We've seen people get 10 million, a million. We've seen people get job offers for 200,000, 300,000, so forth. We've seen that, right? We've seen it. What we have not seen, and what we have not often seen, let me say it this way, is yes, make the money, but then how do I protect the money that I'm making? Right? You can go work in NVIDIA, you can go work at Broadcom, you can go work at all these places, but how do you protect the money? And that's what you tend to try. People tend not to focus on. They want to go make the money, but then they don't know what to do with it. Right? All right. Let me get out of here. Make sure. Uh, yeah, we'll talk about that one. I'm just going through my notes. All right. Who I want to highlight. All right. So let's highlight this person. All right. I raised $3 million for my AI startup as a full-time Yale student. Here's how I manage my time so I can do both. I wanted to highlight this person because, hey man, we hardly ever see anybody on here of color. Nathan Neo, I guess Nathaniel Johnson over at Yale was raised 3.1 million in pre-seed for funding a startup he co-founded. His startup called Series. He started it at Yale and is now preparing for a Series A funding while in his senior year. Johnson shares how he made it work from 18 hours a day to delegation. All right, so again, he's at Yale, and let's do some talking here on that. Uh, okay, so let's see. And this was in 2016, so this is almost 10 years old. But just bear with me, right? So here it says 10 colleges that have produced the most millionaires. This is from 2016. This is old. All right. So let's go here. The first one up, Michigan, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, Yale, Princeton is next, Cornell is next, University of Texas, Austin is next, Berkeley, Oxford, Stanford, University of Pennsylvania, and Harvard. Now, I always, this is from 10 years ago almost. I always also like to look at how many of the HBCUs produce millionaires as well. Let me see if we can get that. Okay, we got the HBCU Connect. And let's see what they say. In this Will Madison's HBCU Connect, and this is his site. The guy, yeah, HBCU Connect is his. I'm trying to see. It won't let me. It's not pulling up the site. Let me look. Let me show you what I'm looking at. So here, top 10 universities. Go here. Yeah, it's just spinning. Yeah. Made it too big there. Let's go back out. Yeah, that just spins for me. I'm looking to see if we got if somebody had pulled HBCUs and millionaires. Let's see, African American millionaires. Let's see. This is August of 2025 of this year. And when I click on it, we're talking about football. I don't want to talk about football. All right, African American would consider that a single black-owned private equity fund managing 500 million will produce more black millionaires than in 5 decades of the NFL. And then when I hop over here, it says the gridiron debunking the NFL as the engine of African American wealth. Okay, all right. I'm gonna skip through that part. Uh, we'll go through that part. All right. Mm. All right. So let's pick up here. It says, meanwhile, um, wealth in America is driven by ownership of businesses, real estate, stocks, and institutions. The NFL offers none of these to the vast majority of black athletes. Ownership must be said. Ownership, it must be said, remains the exclusive domain of white billionaires. As of 2025, there are zero majority-owned African American owners of the NFL franchises, while the NBA has made token strides. See Michael Jordan's brief tenure as majority owner of the Charlotte Hornets. The NFL remains rigid in its old world capital structure. It is hard to avoid the uncomfortable metaphor that the NFL structurally resembles a modern day plantation, African American bodies fuel the labor force, endure the risks, suffer the injuries, and entertain the masses. White ownership, white commissioners, white centered media conglomerates reap the institutional profits. The league generates 18 billion in annual revenue. The average team is valued at 5 billion, and yet the athletes, even at apex of their earning power, remain labor, not capital. This is not a critique of sports per se, but athletics can inspire and galvanize, right? So again, we're talking about blah 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 blah, the myth, blah 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 blah. I'm looking for the private equity part. Uh, African American wealth building must shift its focus toward institutions that compound, aggregate, and replicate power. HBCUs, black owned banks, cooperative land trusts, investment syndicates, media companies, and technology accelerators are more viable paths to collective advancement than any draft pick. So let's highlight that. All right. Let's highlight that. African American wealth building must shift to the focus towards institutions that compound, aggregate, and replicate power. HBCUs, black owned banks, cooperative land trusts, investment syndicates, media companies, and technology accelerators. Now, it's funny that we're mentioning this now because when they talked about HGTV going off the air, because really they really got to file for bankruptcy, so they canceled the show Married to Real Estate, right? And then I thought to myself, I was like, what is stopping anyone from having their own? And I was brainstorming this for someone picking up Married to Real Estate, not necessarily Tyler Perry, but somebody else, right? Or they could have their own stake in. And I looked at this. There's nothing, like, I don't know if you put it on Tubi or whatever the case may be, but there's nothing stopping from having your own real estate channel show. Like, I'm not, like, other than HGTV, I you know I just haven't seen like black owned real estate channel. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. So when I say that, meaning, like, I'm gonna give you an example of um black owned real estate channel. Something similar to Bigger Pockets. I don't know if you guys follow Bigger Pockets, right? And I'm not saying be Bigger Pockets. I'm saying something similar to. All right. It don't have to be on YouTube, but I'm just talking out loud, like what my vision was. So you would have, and you got to go look at Bigger Pockets because there's so many um subsidiaries of them, right? So you got the Rookie, you got Bigger Pockets Money, you got Bigger Pockets Business, you have Bigger Pockets Conference. I don't know if you I was supposed to go to one 2 years ago. So Bigger Pockets Conference in Las Vegas this year. All right. So Bigger Pockets Conference lasting wealth. It's in October, from October the 5th through the 7th. When you get a chance to go and meet all the other people that are like you in networking. I mean, in real estate, in different aspects of real estate, from from private lending to banking to uh, fourplexes, people who own X, Y, and Z. Just again, I just have never seen people come together and do something like that, right? Um, I know we have the DCRE where they talk about commercial real estate. They have that in DC. They just had their conference. I don't know if you're all familiar with that. So diversity in commercial real estate. They just had their conference out of DC. Where they talk about really getting into commercial real estate. What does that look like? They got a community development conference that's in December, but they just had their big one. The next one is going to be in New York. She's usually been having them out of DC. But I get their emails all the time for this one, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. See, that just handles just the commercial real estate, which we're not in, right? Let me say, we're not in it in abundance. We're there, but not in abundance, right? Um, but again, when we're talking about how do we build something out when we're talking about this, black-owned banks, cooperative land trusts, investment syndicates, um, media companies, technology accelerators, um, this part right here, I mean, there's a ton of them out there. Um, technology accelerators are fixed term programs for early stage startups that provide mentorship, funding, resources, networking opportunities to accelerate growth and commercial success. Normally, what people do with these accelerators is they bring in their relationships, people that they have relationships with, to mentor and guide these small early stage pre-seed startups to show one the value to essentially IPO, right? That's essentially what you want to do. However, there's so many obstacles to this. Is like, and this was talked about a lot over the last years. But the obstacles are having the funding. Like people always say, go tap your family, but your family really don't have. Can you go? Let's just put it out there. How many of you have at least 10 people you can go tap right now for $1,000 and not pay them back? Say you need to make they need to make a donation for $1,000. You need 10 people. 10 people for $1,000 that are in your family, not your friends, not your mama friends. 10 people, and that's yeah, and that's usually the problem. Most of us, melanin, people of color, black, African American, whatever you want to call yourself today, usually don't have 10 people you can go tap for $1,000, much less invest in your idea that you're trying to build. It's just not happening, Captain. Not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's just not where we're at. So you gotta work within your confines. Now, if we push this even further and say your startup idea you need $5,000 or $10,000, do you have money set aside that you can blow? Let's just go with an even 10,000. You say I'm just gonna put 10,000 on. I'm betting on myself. I'm not gonna get no loan. I got my money saved up. I'm betting on myself. How many of you all have $10,000 where you can bet on yourself? Like you may not see that money no more. You bet on yourself. You in the game. You all in. You locked in. 10 grand on you. to make it work. Whatever that idea is, can you do that? Now, not saying that you can't start for less than 10,000. I'm just saying, do you have 10,000 to bet on yourself? Right? And so when we get into these conversations like what we're having here, that African American wealth building must shift its focus towards institutions that compound, aggregate, and replicate power. HBCUs, Black owned banks, cooperatives, land trusts, investment syndicates, media companies, and technology accelerators are more viable pathways for collective advancement than any draft pick. Now, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit here. One of the things they said was Black owned banks. Now, banking has not been friendly to Blacks. Let's be clear. Let, let's talk about that. Just a tad. Let's tease on that. Let's pull on that for a little bit. Right? People always say, well, why your mama and them don't have no bank account? Or why they don't do this and why they don't do that? Because historically, back in the day, let's be clear, women in general could not have bank accounts. Let's be clear. Right? But the banks were never really friendly because in sometimes, right, the banks would close and people would have their money in there and they couldn't go get it out. People would have their money in the bank, but the bank is filing for bankruptcy or something like that, and the wouldn't let you come draw your money. And I think this happened not too long ago. Well, was it not? It was not too long ago where people were drawing out their money in the bank and they drew out the money, causing the bank to crash, and they started freezing people accounts. Now this happened over it did just happen over, I think, in China or something like that, but it also has happened here in the United States. So it's not hasn't been very friendly when it comes down to banking and so forth and so on, right? So that's another thing. Now, Citizens is a Citizens Trust that's been around forever, Black owned bank that has been around for quite some time. Yeah. So Citizens Trust. Let me look. Let me see. They got locations. Mm, Black owned assets. Oh, bank owned. Black owned. That's I saw black. Bank owned. Let me look and see if they got like here we go, locations. So locations. Yep, just in Atlanta. So, fun fact on yep, Cascade, yeah, around Atlanta. Okay, they got one in Birmingham. So those are the locations, right? Citizen Trust. So let me so Citizen Trust was founded by in 1921 by Herman Perry. Herman Perry. All right, Herman Perry was an African American U.S. Army soldier during World War II who deserted after fragging an unarmed white lieutenant attempting to arrest him. After being sentenced to death, he escaped custody and a manhunt was launched. While he lived in the jungle, Perry was eventually recaptured once more and court-martialed. He was hanged for murder and desertion, making him the only African American soldier to be executed in China. Is this the same guy? Maybe he had a son. I don't know. Let's see. Are we talking about the same Herman Perry? Let's look at this. Herman Perry, Citizens Trust. There you go. That's a different guy. Like, who? This guy dead. All right, there's Herman. 5 men envision a bank that will primarily serve Black citizens of Atlanta, led by businessman Herman E. Perry, along with James A. Robertson, Thomas J. Ferguson, W. H. King, and H. C. Dugas. Later called the February Five, pooled their talent and resources to develop a Black-owned. Let me see. Black-owned bank and Black-owned and operated bank. They opened for business in 1921 of August. The doors of Citizen Trust Company were opened on Sweet Auburn Avenue with 500,000 in capital stock. The goals of the new bank were threefold: to promote financial stability and business development, to stress the principles of thrift, and to make home ownership possible to a larger number. Let me read that, to a larger number of African American people. Right? Spirit of the community. In 1934, FDIC, Citizen Trust, became the first African American owned bank in the United States to become the member of the Federal Deposit of the FDIC. And in 1947, Citizen Trust was the first Black-owned bank to be a member of the Federal Reserve System. In 1955, they opened up their first branch. During the struggle of civil rights movement, Black Americans fought for equal rights. Citizen Trust continued to mobilize its support to the community. Citizen Trust opened up its first branch, the West Side branch. And then the fifth largest African American financial institution in 1998, they had a merger under the leadership of James E. Young, president of the First Southern Bank, and Dr. Johnny L. Clark, the helm of Citizens Trust, joined in an alliance to form the nation's fifth largest African American owned financial institution. Right? In 2003, on the shoulder of the giants, you guys should know who Herman J. Russell is. Do you know who Herman J. Russell is? Put a 1 in the chat if you do. Put a 2 in the chat if you don't. D, we know you know. Don't know who Herman J. Russell is. We're gonna circle back. We're gonna circle back. We're gonna circle back. All right. Doo-doo. Remember we was over here talking about diversity in commercial real estate? We were talking about diversity in commercial real estate. H.J. Russell. Here, H.J. Russell, out of Atlanta. Right? If you want to know what H.J. Russell has done, let's go check out their portfolio on what they've done. So you know who H.J. Russell is. So Langston High School in in Atlanta, DFW Terminal for those that are in Dallas, the Smithsonian Museum for those that are in the DMV, the Civil Rights and Human Rights for Atlanta, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, um, the Hawks Player Development and Practice Facility, Water Supply, Parkland, Atlanta Fulton County Library, Hartsfield Jackson International Airport, Master Plan, State Farm Arena in Atlanta, another the International Airport Development, Atlanta Streetcar, Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, Georgia Perimeter College, University of North Carolina Charlotte 49ers football complex, right? Skylofts in Atlanta, Castleberry Hill, just to name a few. These are probably the bigger ones of them, right? Yep, he has connections to Maynard Jackson. I think what I'm going to do is pull up the Maynard show one day, and we're just gonna go through the history of it so everybody get an understanding of DC and Atlanta together. But H.J. Russell, um, his children, his successors are still kicking it and alive um, out here. So Michael Russell, they got a CFO in Kevin Johnson Bryan. I know that he has some children that some daughters. Let's see who else is out here on here. Look up HJ. Mm. There we go. Right there. I can't read the bottom, but let me see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. From the left, Maury Russell, Emmanuel Manny, H.J. Russ Russell. The third, Benjamin Russell, H.J. Jerome Russell, Zane Major, Lovett, I guess Twamaine Russell, Michael B. Russell Sr., and posed for the portrait at the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs in Atlanta. So those that are looking to get into like real estate on the commercial side, they did set up an innovation center for entrepreneurs as well too, and also have classes. From what I last time I looked, they did. I don't know if they're still holding them for classes on getting into commercial real estate and how to get into commercial real estate, right? So we got a history here when we're talking about tying these things together. So Herman Russell, um, Senior, and Bank Course Corporation, Emmanuel is an entrepreneur and philanthropist, turned a small plastering firm into one of the most successful American-owned real estate development and construction companies in America. Russell, a lifelong Atlantean who counted among his friends several presidents, Dr. Reverend Martin, Maynard Jackson, so forth and so on, are part of that conversation. So that's 2003. They did a second merger. New president and CEO, Cynthia N. Day, becomes the president and CEO in 2012, 2017. Bank commitment to supporting. 2020, paving the way for future generation. In 2023, Senator Trump Bank ranked number 28. In 2025, your story is our story, right? So a history of Black Bank in Atlanta, still there. One of the first banks I actually went to cash my check. And I didn't know it was Black owned when I until I went into it. And I'm like, man, Is it, you got black president in the bank, blah 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 blah. They're like, yeah, it's black on. I'm like, oh, okay. I was a kid, didn't know, right? But citizen trust is one that comes to mind. Again, considering the single black-owned private equity fund managing 500 million will produce more black millionaires than 5 decades of NFL careers. I was trying to get my check cashed, exactly. All right. In fact, historical analogs suggest that the professional exclusion led to the construction of powerful black institutions during segregation. African Americans built hospitals, universities, bus lines, and newspapers. Newspapers are now one of those things. Everybody is online, so we've seen the black media explosion over the years, right? And when I say explosion over the years, there was a time where black people weren't allowed on MTV. There was a time where we couldn't, where we, again, I was just watching the Mahalia Jackson story where she couldn't walk in to the front door of the Fox in Atlanta. She had to go around the back and walk in. There were places we couldn't walk in the front door. So let's not deny that things didn't happen here in the States. What can we do differently? Um, a lot of people saying AI will create more millionaires in 5 years than the entire existence of the internet. What they don't say is what color are those millionaires going to be? What is the background, educational background of those people who are going to be those millionaires? What type of knowledge and sharing and network do those people have? And I think we have to bring context to those conversations. We can say that AI is going to create more millionaires, but they don't tell you it's specifically what arena of that they're going to create more millionaires. The education, the study, the the area of study, the growth in that area, um, what that looks like. We have not had that conversation, right? And we're gonna talk about it. Transitional wealth thinking. Moreover, the fixation over domestic sports ignores the global economic realignment. The fastest growing wealth markets are in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Forward thinking of African Americans should be exporting services, partnering with Pan African institutions, and inviting in and investing in sovereign wealth opportunities. I want to ask this question right now. What country in Africa are you investing in, and what are you investing in that country? What drew you to that country? I want to ask that. And the other question I want to ask is what services are you providing to that said location, right? And the reason why I ask that question is because we typically say we should be investing in Africa, but what services are we taking to Africa? And then are they receptive of the services that you're bringing? And that is always it's always a caveat to a caveat. And that caveat is, well, you can't go everywhere. You got to be careful where you go. You can't do that. You got to do this, right? I always hear that, but I don't never hear no concrete blueprint. Like all I hear is go sell your hair, go do some hair, go do some something 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 something. I'll never hear nothing technology wise other than investing in crypto. Maybe somebody got some cell phones and some internet. That's them the three I always hear. I don't never hear nobody talking about go teach at the university, go build this, go build that. I don't never hear that stuff. I hear go buy some land, go to Kenya, go over here, do this, go over here. I don't never hear. like a concrete plan. So I pack up and I move and I want to use my Linux skills. Where am I going? Somebody want to utilize their agile skills. Where am I going? I want to utilize my I want to utilize not just my agile skills. I want to utilize my technology accelerator skills. Where am I going? I don't never hear no concrete place. I'll never hear no like we're gonna put you in touch with blah 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 blah. Yeah, I don't never hear that. Here's the other piece that I don't think people talk about when they say you're gonna make this journey, because I hear this all the time. And I often wonder what is the sacrifice that's being asked of that person to make. And that sacrifice is this. Yes, we can go over and build in Africa. Yeah, sure. I got it. Cool. Run with that. But there's a sacrifice that gets made. People have aging parents, people have aging siblings, people have sick people in their immediate family, whether it's their wife, their child. That child may need some special care. Are they going to get that in Africa? Are they going to get that in Africa? Who are we actually trying to send to Africa? Who? Who, Harpo? Who? I be wanting to know those questions. What is it like for when we're talking about going to the doctor? What is that like? What is the medicine like? How does that relate? Tila, you say Africa not on your radar. I'm sure it's not on the radar for a lot of people, right? So yes, we can say this, and I'm not knocking the person who wrote this. I'm just pointing out we say this in a sentence, and then it's just like you gonna pack up and then go move there, and then what? You land, and then what? Yeah, I get it. You got to do your research, but what I'm simply saying is when we make these articles like this, we should kind of caveat some things like, hey, these are some best places, blah, 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 blah. Here's why. Here's the education. Here's what your children will receive education wise. Here's the opportunities. Here's where it's at. Here's what's doing, those things. Right. And then people say, well, you don't have to say it. White people don't say that, or Asian people don't say that. They just go over there and they build. We the only ones that don't invest. Well, there's a history there, right? We won't get into it, but you know what I'm talking about. All right, the NFL doesn't build factory. It does not fund innovation. It does not seed capital. It does not provide passive income. It does not own land, develop cities, or engage in infrastructure. It sells tickets. It sells ad. It breaks bodies. It builds billion-dollar stadiums on taxpayer subsidies and pays its workers less than the hedge fund interns. Real wealth is built through scale. The black farmer with 1,000 acres and passes it down to more transformative than the pro bowler whose children inherit post-career medical bills and reality show royalties. Toward the new narrative, blah 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 blah, trading helmets for holdings and so forth. I'll post this article on in the chat. You guys can go through and read that and ponder for a little bit on it and give it some thought or whatnot. I'm just pointing out if we're gonna have these kind of conversations, we got to understand the bigger picture, right? Um, but yes, back to my guy. All right, his network out of Yale, his exposure, and this is what I talk about. We keep saying that we're not gonna go to college, go get a trade, and then you network and so forth. But it's already at 3.1 on the pre-seed, right? He's already at 3.1 on the pre-seed. Are you going to be able to be at 3.1 on the pre-seed in your welding company? or as you as a welder. So I'm just looking it up. The average annual salary for welders varies. The data as from May 2024, the median is 51,000 according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Other sources show different figures, with salary.com reporting 42,000 annually in Florida as of September the 25th. Um so forth. So let's see, for a average salary for a senior welder, 63 to 80,000, 30 to 38 dollars an hour. Let's see. Now this what it pulled back. I just want to see what it pulled back. Achieving an income of 1 million a year for a welder is not possible through conventional welding job alone, but is plausible by leveraging specialized skills and certifications to own and scale a successful welding business. And that is what I say. We're saying go be a welder. I'm saying go own the welding company. I just feel like we keep pushing being in a trade, and don't get me wrong, some of you need to work a job. You're not good leaders. You possess zero leadership skills. You're not good with talking to people. You're not good with interacting with people. You're not even good with talking to yourself, right? And it's okay. That's right. That's right. My degrees got me the interview, and my skill set helped me kill the interview. Correct. I saw on Twitter post talking about 200K earnings for welders, but I don't think it said what specialty. Exactly. It didn't say what specialty. They never say what specialty. They just tell you to go be a welder. Go to school and get a trade and get your cert, but then you go look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. I mean, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm probably a little ignorant to the welding. But here we go. Performing welding and cutting operations on offshore oil rigs, pipeline ships is hazardous but extremely lucrative. The highest paid saturation divers can earn up to $300,000 annually. Yeah, you're underwater and you're going welding. Nuclear welding, pipeline welding, aerospace welding. These are probably the ones that were probably 200,000. So let's look at underwater welding. Hyperbaric welding, I guess is what it's called. Underwater welding and burning school. All right. The first week, 40 hours. You train in Hudson, Florida. Um, I don't see what the cost is. Let's see. Let's see how much it costs. Oh, don't do that. All right. Estimated cost of attendances so far is 39,000. Estimated cost of the tuition and fees is 25. Room and board if you were gonna be there, 8. Books 25. Other expenses 3,200. Estimated total grant 2,000. So estimated net price after grants and scholarships is 37,000. That's where we at. So roughly, I give or take 40,000. A round up. And I didn't put I just put where we be living on campus. Right? So 40,000 is what you're looking at. That's just that's this particular one. So you have a $40,000 upfront investment for welding school. It could be cheaper. We can remove about 10,000 and go with 30,000. So 30,000 up front. And they're saying that the course, this level certification, USB level certification 1, it's the first one. I'm assuming there's probably other certifications to get, but that's just the first one. Unrestricted surface supply diver program. Start a high pay, high thrill career in commercial diving. They give you the curriculum. This is the certification listed can be earned successfully by completing 27 weeks or 900 hours. 27 weeks. So about 6 months. 6 months for this. And they saying your starting salary can range from between 50,000 to 100,000. You can go sit down and learn Linux and not have your life at risk, and go from there. Just my thoughts. All right. Just my thought. All right. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm just putting down the longevity of your body. Your body. Right. I think what I do next week is I think I'll do a Linux career versus a trade career. And I'll probably stick with welding. And we'll talk about the trajectory, the lifestyle, the options, and so forth. I think I'll do that. I'd think about that a bit. Because if you're telling me that I spent 27 weeks and it seems like I'm probably gonna spend about 40,000 in these 27 weeks to do 50,000 to get, so 6 months to get 50,000 to 100,000. I don't, and you mean to tell me, just just bear with me here, that I can't take If I got to do it in 6 months, you mean tell me I can't spend 7,500 and get the learning subscription from Red Hat and take 6 months and get about 2 or 3 certs and also interviews within that time and go get a job? I ain't gonna even say 100,000. Go get a job and make 50,000. I don't know. Maybe I'm selling you hoop dreams. I don't think I am. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the interviews. I'm looking at the job opportunities. 40,000 versus 7,500. Again, you'll say, Tameika, everybody ain't meant to be in tech. How long till they start getting underwater welders that that are robots, humanoids? How long? Right? All right. While some report a typical working is 10 to 15 years, others suggest a shortened life expectancy of 35 to 40 years. So you're only doing 10 to 15 anyway. Due to risks like decompression, sickness, electrocution, and drowning, the actual longevity varies significantly based on the individual health, safety protocols followed, and the specific conditions of the work. Mental strain, physical, high risk hazards, so forth and so on. Like I said, I ain't never met uh a retired plumber. There's a huge huge fatality rate. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Linux don't do that. Yeah. I tell my family this all the time. You have to take into account the toll of a trade can take on the body. Exactly. And I agree. So this is why I was saying, I'm like, man, you gotta listen to what they selling you. Listen to what they selling you. Right? Again, we're talking, you probably gonna spend this one maybe a little bit more. Yeah. 50 to 100. You might well just come on back home, sit on the sofa. All right, let's change this to all jobs. Let's change this to experience level to entry. All right. So let me see if this is actually reading as an entry. So this one wants somebody with 15 years of experience. L3, but I just looking at level 3, if you understand rancher, docker, all those things, you already at 130 to 270. L3. So let's look at here. System admin. It's in New Jersey. Ansible, Perl script, Perl bash scripts, GitLab, Jenkins, can CI/CD, understand Rail. They want somebody that understands Camel. They want some Java stuff. They may be reaching for that one for an entry level person. You probably learn that as you go. You might have been a Java person, a coder, and turned that. But here's vSphere administrator. Go. Listen, VMUG. Broadcom purchased VMware. You can go sign up for to be a part of or whatnot, and get the membership and get, I think it's like $200 and you, yeah, 210 for the advantage right there, or you can be free. It used to be 200, but they want somebody that understands vSphere, how to put it all together in Chantilly. But they do want you a TSSCI uh, uh, clearance, but that's just those who don't have one, right? That would be hard to do. But I'm showing you, if you got one, you can go do so many other things. Let's look at this. Flight Sciences Library of what FSL stands for. They want someone with 1 year in any related IT. Understand help desk, set up some stuff, understand NASA. Here you go. I guarantee you're not getting paid $30,000 to do this job here. I guarantee you that's probably like 50 to 70,000, maybe even 80. That's off the rip, and that's with 1 year experience. Add the fact that you got your cert. Let's go look at. Um, I remember it was back in the day. You couldn't even type in Linux system administrator. Well, it wasn't even an option. I like doing direct hire, no recruiter. We want full time work. We don't care. Apply filters. They don't give me an option whether I do beginner or not. So just kind of got to look at it. So Huntsville, Alabama, let's go. Linux administrator. All right. 89,000 to 162. Both Linux and Windows server admin. Experience a bachelor's degree or relevant 4 years of relevant experience. Additional experience may be required, may be considered in lieu of bachelor's degree. 4 year sysadmin, security plus, and so forth. So for those that are beginning and you got your security plus and you got your RHCSA, and possibly your RHCE, apply for this job, especially if you got your RHCE, because they want experience with Ansible. Here's why I say that. Because places like Lados will probably end up coming back around and saying, hey, you stand out to me. We'll sponsor your clearance. And oh, by the way, while you're working here, we have a partnership with said company or said college. You can go get your bachelor's degree with that, blah, 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 blah. Right? So let me look here. Okay. Who are they with? They're with George Mason, University of Washington, UC San Diego, Virginia, SMU, Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, University of Maryland. Right? So you can essentially, through the job, get your bachelor's and your master's paid for. Paid for. Aberdeen Proving Grounds, 61 to 141,000. That's what Booz Allen. Gov CIO. This was posted yesterday. This is in Arlington. They want you to address poems, STIGs, Linux base. Let me look at it. 115 to 135. This is just a senior person. They want somebody that has experience with writing scripts, troubleshooting, written and verbal, strong attention to detail. 8 years in, you could probably get away with your with being very good at your interviews. They conduct virtual interviews, be on camera, show your photo ID, enhance biometrics ID verification, criminal background check, verification of your highest level of education and employment of the past 7 years. Um, and then there's a list of their insurance. I mean, of their benefits. And this was posted 30 days ago. Entry level associate, Cape Canaveral, Space Coast. Thank Bezos out there. 57,000 to 100,000. LM, somebody that got their security plus. Hands-on technologies, OpenShift, OpenStack, AWS, Azure, understanding Nexus, so forth and so on. You're not gonna get these in school. You're not gonna get these skills in school. You get these skills outside of school. You put them, they complement each other from your degree to this, they complement each other. And then you apply. And you already at this job, they're already paying you off the rip 57 to 100,000. Let's go look at apartments order. Let's look at a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. 1,300, 1,700 for a 2-2, 1,150 for an older one, 1,750. I'm sure you can go in the area and find something around 1,500. There's one right here for 1,200 right here. So can you make it off 100,000 in Cape Canaveral? Yeah. So the way that calculator works, let's see, let's do let's type in salary calculator. So here we go. We're gonna put single, we're gonna put Cape Canaveral. We're gonna say single pay semi-monthly, yes. Allowances, we don't have anything for federal. And we're gonna say the salary is let's do 105. Even though it's at 101, you negotiated. No, take away overtime. All right. The estimated monthly take home is 3,200 at 105. You'll probably be kicking out about monthly with bills. You may be kicking out around about 1,800, half of that. You're not gonna max out your 401k. Let's just call a buck, right? Um, which is 23,000 divided by 12. You're not gonna max out your 401k at $1,900 a month. You're not gonna do that. What you can do is contribute. So you may start off with putting away $200 or $300 a month into your 401k, right? So 2,100. So you got 32 something minus 2,100. You got 1,100 left over, right? So is it possible? Yes, because you don't pay federal. So your gross paycheck 4,300. Um, you may have some pre-tax deductions of $200, like I say. So you'll be left with $3,000 if you put in your 401k out of that 3,000. So let's do 3,000. Let's say you pay your rent around about let's go 1,300. Utilities, water, light, gas, cell phone bill. Do you need cable? I don't know. You may not. We'll say you won't. We'll say you just stick to maybe Netflix and YouTube or something like that. So I'm just gonna deduct 500 for that. Yeah. So about you have 1,200 left over. Right. Uh well, cloudy 80 degrees, you missed the whole conversation. The whole conversation was, should you pay $40,000 for a welding course, or should you pay the 7,500 for the learning subscription and then just go into Linux? And then what is the longevity of that? You know what I mean? So again, 7,500 is cheap compared to 40,000 plus for 27 weeks, 6 months. Let's see, say Warren Henry. I do want more info on Lockheed. Yep. Semi monthly is twice a month. Yep. Let's go back. Is it semi monthly that is coming out with? Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So you have more than that. So 3,200, 6,400 minus your rent. We'll bump you up. We'll bump you up to 1,400 minus, I don't know, utilities or whatnot. And I don't know. I guess you may have a car note. I don't know, 500. Insurance 200. Investing in your 401k. Let's say you put in, I don't know, 200 still. 3,600 left over so you can do more. Yeah. You say I gladly take it. Yep. cloudy 80 degrees. It's okay. It's okay. But you say 7,500 is crazy. um, and I think you mentioned it, but that's for the whole year. That's that's the other thing. It's for a whole year, right? So that's not too bad. Let me see. We talked about that. We talked about the Yale dude. Oh, what is it? What does series do? Let's talk about it. He said, while at college, I co-founded a series, an AI social networking platform that messages people over iMessage. We secured 3.1 million in pre-seed funding, and I'm still a student at Yale. I've been coding since the seventh grade. For as long as I can remember, I had an interest in technology and entrepreneurship. In the seventh grade, a technology teacher introduced me to LinkBox, modular robots you can link together by programming them in C and make them pass a series of obstacle courses. This was my introduction to coding in the eighth grade. I built a walking stick for the blind using ultrasonic sensors and an Arduino microprocessor. I 3D printed the base using Fusion's 360 and attached motorized wheels and a vibration motor module. And here's his demo. Nowadays, I'm pretty proficient in C and Python and Swift, which I mainly learned during my summer as a senior in high school. I also involved in normal extracurricular activities. I was varsity campaign of basketball team and valedictorian of my high school year. I always planned to go to MIT, but by the time college admissions rolled, I chose Yale at the last minute. Yale offered a breadth of computer science, philosophy, and art. It had resources for me to become great at anything, the power of introductions. Over the summer of 2022, before I spent 3 weeks using Swift to code Mix 26, an app to help me navigate orientation, that October, I started the Founder Series podcast through the Yale Entrepreneur Society to showcase how some of the college most famous entrepreneurs use their networks to get where they are. But I'm telling you to go be a welder. That's all I'm saying. You got the premium subscription. You didn't know it came with so many. Yep, I had the premium subscription. Set up your time to study. Like I'm listen, I'm not telling you to go buy the red hat stuff. I've shown you can go buy red hat, you can go to the CNCF, you can go to um you can go to O'Reilly route, you can buy one class, you can just buy a cert. It's all on you. What I am telling you is most of the people that I've encountered, in particular in the DoD space, they're all using Red Hat. And if they're using SE Linux, if they're using SUSE Linux, if they're using Ubuntu, that's something else. They're working on something else. Most people are using Red Hat in the DoD space. DoD, Navy, Army, whatever. Is there a way for you to be set up financially? I said this before. I often wondered of the 300,000 plus black women that got let go, how many of them were in tech? I just wish I had the breakdown of the numbers. I really do. And I also wonder of the employment of black employment, how many of them were in tech as well too? Because it's been risen to 7.5%. That's men and women. All right. So when someone telling you, "Oh, no, don't go to college or don't go do this, go get a cert in a trade," I don't know. Do we consider Linux a trade? Is Linux considered a trade? Are we putting cloud computing as a trade? Are we saying being able to create AI agents, is that a trade? You tell me. Is cybersecurity a trade? You tell me. Tell me if that's a trade. All right. I had a whole nother show planned. We're at our 2 hour mark. Hold on. Let me make sure what I had planned was anything of significance. Your boy Alex Garp is talking again. You know they say he's black. That's what they say. Say he's a black man. They say he had an African American mother and a Jewish father. That's what they say. Oh, Alex. He said, Alex Carp said, Palantir Alex Carp says, top tech talent is about to get crazy valuable. How are you going to increase your skill set to be crazy valuable is the question. Competition for AI talent, top workers are demanding higher pay. No one's taking your pennies anymore. That's why I keep trying to tell y'all. At the rate when we start seeing $100 million in a sign-on bonus, and we start seeing 1.4 billion being offered, you better start getting your skills and you better go after that. You better go after it while it's hot. Now the time is hot. Strike while the iron's hot. AI infrastructure, quantum infrastructure, all of that is hot. You're gonna be on the sidelines over here arguing about whether or not you feminine, fit, and submissive, or you're alpha or a beta male. You gonna be sitting over there arguing over there, and they're gonna be over here getting 100 million. Just saying. We'll start from the top up here. What we talked about earlier, space operations command getting a new name, new boss, right? Says Air and Space Force magazine confirmed the pending name change after it revealed among a list of general officer assignments announced by the Pentagon on September the 5th. They're going to rename the services, renaming Space Operations Command with a Star Trek team to Combat Forces Command. I don't know why they needed a name change. I don't know what the purpose is. Who knows? That's right. 200K is not crazy. 200K is like, Oh, they offered you 200K. You just be like, oh, okay, that's what's up. Like, they offered you 200K. You're like, okay, that's what's up. Right? You don't even blink. You don't even think about it no more. All right. Georgia Tech faces a new federal scrutiny. It gets a record of $100 million gift. Who gave Georgia Tech $100 million in a gift? 100 million. How much do HBCUs get in a year, funding wise? 100 million bequeathed from the late Georgia Tech alumnus uh, John W. Durstein to transform the Institute Georgia Tech W. Woodruff School of Mechanical. See, who is he? He's a graduate from Georgia Tech who spent more than 3 decades shaping truck and light vehicle design, powertrain strategy, and advanced systems engineering at the Ford Motor Company. In 2014, he was inducted into Georgia Tech's College of Engineering Hall of Fame. Durston was a Birmingham, Alabama native who attended Georgia Tech in the 50s as a mechanical engineer major before going to receive an MBA from Harvard and establishing his career at the Ford Motor Company that would last over 3 decades. He gifted them 100 million. Oh, most definitely, most definitely. I mean, didn't Trump just open up a bank, a family bank? When it like something like 8 million or 8 trillion or something like that? Did y'all see that the payout for Elon Musk because they're trying to switch CEOs is $1 trillion? That's right, Dendrick. That go them degrees again. Take somehow magically keep popping up because they magically delicious. Somehow or another they keep popping up. For those that want to know what the GS scale is like for 2026, it is out. The new GS scale is out. If you are a GS 15, step 10, you make $164,000. 165, you want to give or take right there. Right? That's your max. That's your max. Go on over there and get on that GS scale. Check it out. Leidos develops an autonomous commando landing craft for the UK. We talked about Leidos earlier, right? One of the larger, what you call it? Speaking of Africa, South Africa seizes large quantity of cocaine from refrigerated containers. Mhm. Floating data centers on the fast flowing river. Talked about this a while back. The floating data centers, right? I think this is going to be interesting because LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, correct? OpenAI just announced this AI hiring platform to take on LinkedIn. Let the games begin. That's right. You should stay in the contract world if you know what's good for you. Let the games begin. Start watching out for this. And also start watching out for them to start to hire for this. The infrastructure around it, the UX UI, the whole nine. All right. Recruiters, right? They'll probably have minimal recruiters, but again, what does that look like? How do you link people up? You pull in resumes, you link people up with jobs, boom, all working on the back end. Yep. Tesla proposes payout for Elon Musk. His pay package is up to $1 trillion. 1 trillion. We just talking about the lottery with $1 billion. Meta is paying contractors up to $55 an hour to build AI chatbot characters. Go build you some chatbot characters. 55 an hour. Go have fun. Get while the getting's good. Go have Chat GPT. Get you the find out what the code is. Start playing with it. Build it out. Start doing it. And I'm gonna end on this note. I'll post the videos that I was gonna talk about. But I'll end on quantum so you guys can keep up with quantum. Run through these rapidly. All right, quantum computing advancements leap forward in evolving data center and AI landscape. Let me pull this up some. Quantum computing sphere is a buzz with activity. Here we examine some of the latest advancements and implications for data center and AI stakeholders spanning the major emerging quantum players such as Microsoft, SoftBank, and including the state of Maryland. And there have some stuff in here for the state of Maryland as well too. But while we're talking about it, we're talking about quantum computing. Here, NVIDIA, $600 million quantum computing bet. Will they go buy a Rigetti or IONQ or D Wave? We've been watching them. I'm invested in all three. Who is going to, are they going to get purchased? Or one of these going to get purchased? Stay tuned for that, right? Stay tuned for that. Will NVIDIA go after purchasing them? Because they're ramping up on quantum computing. I've been telling you for months that it's coming. It is coming. It is coming. Right. All right. So here. It says Hans said that the practical quantum computers are 15 to 30 years away from being useful. He made this prediction during the keynote in 2025 at CES. The NVIDIA CEO's comment caused a significant drop in stock prices of several quantum computing companies. Comments were seen by many as pragmatic assessment of the current state of quantum computing, despite significant theoretical promise, has struggled with like issues like error correction, scalability, and stability. Right. But again, Microsoft makes one leap toward make a leap toward practical quantum computing. And then there's a video for that. Microsoft announced a significant breakthrough in quantum computing, the unveiling of Major Anna, number one, the world's first quantum computing processor by topological qubits. This milestone marks a shift from theoretical exploration to tangible technological progress, moving towards scalable, fault tolerant quantum computing. right? And then they go on to talk about the roadmap for quantum computing, working with agencies like DARPA and so forth, right? So that's that part. Let me see if they're gonna right here. Maryland and UMD unveil 1 billion capital a quantum initiative to lead the global quantum innovation. Maryland is making a bold move to establish itself as the global hub for quantum computing and innovation. Governor Westmore, alongside the University of Maryland, which is partnered with Latos, President Darrell J. Pines, and IONQ, again coming back up, Peter Chapman, last month announced the Capital Initiative, a $1 billion public-private investment designed to cement Maryland and Greater DC region as the leader of quantum computing in science and technology. All right. They said the key funding components is 27.5 million for fiscal year 2026, anticipated to capitalize 200 million in matching funds from UMD partners. 244 million been allocated for construction of the state-of-the-art facility with dedicated quantum labs. And then they go on to talk about what they're going to put driving through research and workforce development. Again, workforce development, meaning we're going to create training classes, meaning we're going to start creating things, uh, uh, curriculum and things centered around that, right? So be on the lookout. IONQ right here, all right? IONQ expands leadership into Maryland, um, developing $100,000 square foot facility that includes a data center, laboratory, space office, and IONQ plans to double its workforce by at least 250 employees within the next 5 years. Go look at IONQ. What do they need? What data center needs do they need? You want to be working in a quantum computing company that is on the edge? Here we are. This is how you get in early. um IONQ jobs. All right, what jobs do they have out there? We got scientist, software engineer, architecture, staff engineer, system administrator out in Bothell, up in Washington State. A program manager, software engineer, someone under quantum computing. They want packaging development, optical, senior software engineer, senior staff engineer, hardware engineer, a system operator, technical designer, quantum networking. I'm sure that's something totally different, like than regular networking. Understand how to build out their cloud platform. Let's go over here to two. Nothing. Oh, here we go. Marketing, procurement, production and engineering, environmental health and safety, resilience engineering, supply, systems integrator, testing, talent. Right. So go check them out. All right. Quantum computing could be commercial real estate's next big tailwind. Quantum computing is advancing quickly and becoming commercially available. As a result, it needs its own real estate. Companies like IBM, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are making investments and breakthroughs in quantum computing. The fledgling industry needs access to academics, infrastructure, and education workforce, government support, private investment, and public and private advocacy. It may not hit right now, but it's gonna hit in another 3 to 5 years. They need workforce. They already an educated workforce. I've been screaming this for years now. Infrastructure, somebody's got to build it. Somebody's got to put it up. Somebody got to connect them together. Right? Private investment and public and private advocacy. Right? Just as artificial intelligence needs data center sector and into a gold mine, quantum is already jumping on its own real estate revolution. Quantum uses quantum mechanics to solve problems beyond the ability of most powerful classical computers. Until now, these supercomputers have mostly lived at the academic or government facilities because they had limited practical applications. But quantum is suddenly now advancing quickly and becoming much more commercially viable. There's going to be a defined point in time where we've reached commercialization of technology, where there's commercial utility, and at that point we see a significant ramp taking place to scale of like what we saw with artificial intelligence. Mm-mm-mm. With rapid advancements in this past year, forecast suggests quantum computing could see 20 billion in investments by 2030 and generate $100 billion in revenue by 2035. Right? And there's more to this article. I'm not gonna read all of it. I'll give it to you all to read. And then last but not least, quantum forecast driving quantum computing. Reject all. All right, so let's talk about it right here. Let's do the numbers here. All right. Governments around the world are no longer quietly funding quantum research, according to McKinsey this year, from the concept to reality, but their publicly funding is now surging, right? Here, announcements of public investments in quantum computing technology reached 10 billion in 2025, and Japan accounting for nearly 75%, right? So here's Japan, the UK. Here's what the US looks like. Gonna get left behind again. Private capital is also responding. Quantum startups raised 2 billion in 2024, up to 50% on the year. That investment has translated into revenue. The sector generated 650 to 750 last year, with projections pointing to 1 billion in 2025. And they talk about that. Security is accelerating the demand. And are you currently are you currently working on or planning to use quantum safe solutions in the next 5 years? And then they're saying the average was 70%, but the defense is most definitely using it. Banking, aerospace, telecom, high tech, insurance. These are the top ones that are looking for work, that are looking to utilize quantum computing. So anything in the defense industry, the banking industry, aerospace, telecom, high tech, and then insurance. I'm just doing 70 and up. I'm doing 70 and up. They're talking about China there. Cloud access lowers the barrier. Sovereignty and strategy. The geopolitical dimension is also becoming harder to ignore. So partnerships are probably going to start being held. So again, play around if you want to. All right. Think I covered most of everything. Um, Let me double verify. Oh yeah, one thing that I thought was bogus. It's up over here, but let me bring it over. I'm gonna run through it real quick. After you hear this list, you're gonna be like, who created this? The 11 fastest growing in demand skills that can boost your earnings by thousands. All right, so I'm just gonna run through this. AI and big data, and they said that the wage boost is 6,800. Technological literacy uh, can boost by 36. Resilience, flexibility, and agility 1,800. Creative thinking 71. Leadership and social influence, analytical thinking, curiosity and lifelong learning, empathy and active listening, talent management, and system thinking. I always tell you about system thinking. motivation and awareness. These are all skills that they're saying that can help increase and boost your earnings by thousands. I think these some of these are just straight up skill sets that you just naturally should have. All right, I wanted to get that out. I did my part. Hope you did your part. Hope you had fun today. Again, are you gonna be a are you gonna be in a suit on the water? Or are you gonna go get you some skill sets, some technical skill sets, and keep pushing? The choice is yours. Red pill or blue, bad back or not. You could say probably bad back or big back, but all right now.